Hi, I'm Rick Lobdell. Welcome to another episode of Concrete Mystique, the podcast. Follow me on all social media platforms. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We are in the Concrete Mystique studio today. I rarely get to anybody from the concrete world in my personal studio. And today on Concrete Mystique, the podcast, I have Mr. Christopher Land. Now, of course, I ask this every time. Is it Chris or Christopher? I ask this everybody because I'm always worried about saying something wrong to someone's name.
So it's actually Chris. My mother calls me Christopher, but for the internet and for social media, we have to be professional. So I use my whole name. But I would prefer Chris.
It's funny. Why don't you just use Chris on social media? Because I don't use Richard.
I don't know. I think it looks better, if you will. I mean, that's my legal name. I had Top Dog prior to that, so Chris or Christopher would work.
Just like I got a big dog plaque in the background over here.
That would work way better than Top Dog. We were in the music industry back in the day, so we had to switch gears and get a little bit more professional.
I am definitely looking forward to finding out about this music thing later. That's crazy.
Yes, sir.
So we are in my studio.
Yes, thank you for having us.
This is a first time for me. Not only a first time to have someone in the concrete world in my studio with all my gadgets in the background and all my craziness back here.
Slick Rick residence.
But we are in my house.
Yes, sir.
Now, there's almost no one that comes to my house in this industry. You are on a very, 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 very short list.
I was actually surprised.
I would say under 10 people list.
Wow.
That's how big of a deal it is that you are sitting here right now. And not just sitting here right now, but we have a lot of plans today.
Absolutely.
You just rolled in an hour ago, and I'm throwing you in front of the camera, throwing you in front of the mic.
Right. That's all right. We're having fun. We appreciate the hospitality, Rick, and it was super humbling to even be extended the invite to come out to the residence and sit here and chat with you and get to know the family a little bit.
Well, first of all, I appreciate you coming.
Absolutely.
We are heading to Decocrete. And the funny thing about this, as I say that, is this recording is going to come out after the whole trip. We're already going to be home, back doing our own thing before I even edit this and put it out there. But we are currently on our way. We leave tomorrow morning to head toward Ohio for the Decorative Concrete Expo.
We got a long week ahead of us.
We do have a long week ahead of us. It's going to be crazy. It'll be fun. And so I asked them to come a day early, one, to hang out at the house, stay at the house, come, check the place out, check out the artwork. And also tomorrow we're going to go to Columbus, Ohio to see my nephew and hang out with him for a little bit. My youngest nephew is going to Ohio State. He's going to become a lawyer and wants to be in environmental law and all this kind of craziness. So we're going to have fun with him tomorrow night. And then we're going to roll into Decocrete in the afternoon on Tuesday and start our design on Wednesday and throw down in front of a large audience. Get
going. Yeah, I'm excited. This is our first year ever at a Decocrete event, and they're like family to us as well. So we are looking.
Well, it's not your first. It's your first at the show, but you have been to one of their classes because you came to my class.
Yes. So the class was amazing. We got to meet Jeff and some of the not instructors, but Milena. I'm sorry, Milena.
She's the one that runs everything.
She's awesome.
She's the man in charge.
Yes. But yeah, so we have some experience with the Decocrete fam and building up that relationship at your training class. The engraving really added to it. So doing this here this week with Decocrete and with you, it's an honor.
Well, so let's talk about that. So. First question I always like to ask is, how did we first meet?
That's going to be really easy because we only met like a year and a month ago.
Isn't that crazy?
It is. It's mind-blowing.
We met at World of Concrete. See, a lot of times I don't know the answer to this. This one I actually know. Sometimes I really don't. And I ask that on purpose because I worry about how many people I have not shunned but ignored or not talked to. And you were telling me previous to this that you had actually knew about me before you saw me at World of Concrete, but I didn't know who you were at all. I had no clue what these crazy guys were with these crazy outfits walking in, coming up to say hi to me.
We followed you, I believe, a month or two prior to World of Concrete, due to the artistry of what you do for the industry, and what you do for the people in the industry. So, you know, we want to align ourselves with people that, you know, are kind of like-minded in that way. And when we got to see a little bit about Rick Lebdell through social media, when we went to World of Concrete and seen you up there, it was really, really cool experience. Got to meet you and introduce who we are and what we do, even though it's written on our hats and on our hoodies everywhere, you know. But it was a good introduction to meet, you know, the artists behind the work, for sure.
Well, I appreciate that. And that was when we took a picture with the big poker chips.
Yeah, I didn't break it, by the way. That was not me. I don't know.
No, someone kicked it, though. And, you know, I still got to repair that. I'm possibly taking it to the Epoxy Wars this next season to have it there on display. As they wanted, they thought it was awesome, but I have to do some repairs. Yeah. To the point someone literally kicked and I just missed them doing it. Someone dropped my poker chip that you could hold on to on purpose. And like, there was a couple of idiots there that probably were a little drunk too early.
Probably.
They were a little rude to me there.
Well, we were almost getting blamed for that. And so I just wanted to state it for the record on your podcast that it was not the Epoxy Guys. It
was just Garrett.
Yeah. Garrett. Yeah. Garrett wouldn't do anything. He wouldn't hurt a fly. Garrett loves you.
All right. So what, a month, maybe 2 months later, you called the office.
Yes.
And you were asking more details about some stuff with our products. And I won't go into the detail about all of that. But the funny thing about it was when these guys called in, I was like, I think I can talk to these guys. Like, I want to talk to them, see what they're doing, see what's going on. And so I called them back. And I was like, and I formally introduced myself. It wasn't just hey, welcome to World Concrete, great seeing you guys, let's take a picture, see you, talk to you later, never see you again.
Absolutely.
Which happens all the time, especially at World of Concrete, because there's thousands of people walking by. So instead I called him and I had a long talk with this guy right here, and I was like, what can I do to help you? And of course he wanted, you know, cheaper material. I can't do that. You know, he wanted certain things that, you know, we can't always do, because when you're in the business, when it comes to the other side of what I do with selling products and getting involved with everything that's going on with that side of the industry, it's complicated. There's a lot of complicated layers to that. So instead I was like, well, what can I do for you? And we just started chatting. And it was a random, like, I'll never forget that moment, because I was literally I was driving up to a job site to help one of the guys I work with. I was helping his mom's countertops. I was doing a white with black veined countertop.
Mm-hmm. White marble.
And so I literally sat outside and talked to this man for like half an hour.
Yeah, it was quite a bit.
And it was a random conversation about all the things that are going on. And all they were doing at the time was epoxy. And I was like, yeah, but there's this whole other industry out there. And he's like, what do you mean? And correct me if I'm wrong on any of this conversation.
No, you're absolutely right. We're fairly new to this industry as a whole. We're 4 years into decorative concrete as a whole. I was, believe it or not, in hospitality. Due to COVID, I had to switch gears, pivot, and make some necessary changes. And that's what kind of brought us to this industry, is being with your back against the wall, having sink or swim moments to where you have to figure it out. Really took on a whole new form in itself with Epoxy Guys as a team. I mean, this was a shot in the dark that really elevated to something beautiful. I mean, I truly love what I do now. I love the industry, everything about the industry, the people, the brands, working together with other companies. I mean, it's all network, right? So having no knowledge of any of that, no construction background, no artistic, flooring, none of that, no knowledge, from going from hospitality and serving people to a new industry was a bit scary.
I couldn't do the hospitality thing. I can't.
I was a banquet manager for Hilton, believe it or not. Suit and tie every day. Now I wear dusty boots and epoxy jeans all the time. So.
In 3D. So we talked about that, and I said, there's this whole other side of the industry you can work in. Why don't you just come to my class? And you're like, what class? And so I told you all about it, and you did.
Absolutely.
And it showed you a whole nother side. Well, and I'll tell you this too. There's another funny thing to it too. You're only 4 years into this. When I was 4 years into this, here's the point that matters. my 4 years into this, I was in Nashville all by myself, knew nothing about this entire industry, didn't know that there was a concrete industry, a world of concrete, knew nothing of this existence.
Sure.
There was no Facebook. Let's just start there. There was no social media. YouTube had started, and there wasn't a lot to really go off of there. I was filming back then, maybe at that point. I don't even know if I'd started filming yet, actually. YouTube might have not even existed yet. Not that I'm that old, but we're talking 20 years. So we're talking, but at that point I had no idea. I was 7 years in before I found out that there was a bigger world out there for me to experience.
Yeah. And knowing that alone is like, it can be overwhelming to see, so many different trades within what we do, but like getting the exposure to that as well, it just gives you an appreciation for the craft of what you're trying to do.
Yeah, even for the fact of like you coming to World of Concrete, meeting me, and then calling me a month later and chatting with me. I didn't have someone to call and chat. I didn't have a manufacturer that I understood I could call and ask questions to. It's funny that I even say it that way because in the paint world, in my art world, and everything that you got to see today with my art.
Sure.
And the paints, we had a long conversation about color today because they
red.
wanted to understand color and how I use my art as 3D with 3D glasses and everything. We should have wore 3D glasses for this. That would have been funny.
Rick walked us into his house, and the first thing he did was gave us 3D glasses. And I was like, man, we are in for a trip.
I wasn't expecting to do it that quickly, but you started looking at the painting, and they're right there in front of you. So I was like, here.
It was perfect. It was a good understanding of who you are, and I loved every minute of it. The art is beautiful. I'm completely blown away with how you create these, 3D art pieces from just paint. I mean, it's mind blowing.
2D space that looks 3D.
Yeah, it's amazing. But yeah, so coming back to the call, we had our fair share of issues first starting out. I practiced at home probably 5-6 different times on my floors.
You hear that, everybody? That's what I keep telling you in the classes. Practice, practice, practice.
It's important.
Extremely important.
My first countertop that I actually felt comfortable enough to charge, I think it was like $800. It was about 3 hours away from my actual house. I think at the end of the day, I might have made like $30 for the whole deal. But, it was a learning curve. It was a learning opportunity. But yes, practice. I did my countertops at home 6-7 times before I was like, okay, I think I can do this.
It's funny you say it about the price of the work that you were doing, because when I first started doing this, my original boss didn't do the work. He just created this business and had these engravers and had these employees, and they would go out and do everything. And then he hired a salesman. And so at that point, they were doing stuff like, coupons for 10% off and all this kind of stuff. And back then we didn't have all the internet. So we had internet, but we didn't have like the insane social media stuff we have now. So a lot of it was more like sending postcards out to your house. And that was a big way for us to advertise ourselves, which really worked well. Yeah. It was great. But there was always a discount on it to get that attention, to get that phone call. Then at that point, the salesman wasn't 100% invested in what we did. It's not that he didn't care. It's that when you're the engraver or when you're the artist or when you're the person that's actually doing the work, you're invested in what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Let alone be the owner or the employee. In both ways, typically you're the one that's invested in it because you're the one that's on the site all the time. Salesman's there for 45 minutes and he's gone. He may never come back.
It's funny, and I'm not going to interrupt again, but check me out. So I was in the process of hiring a sales rep for Epoxy Guys, and the only stipulation was you had to come work with us for a month.
Of course.
You have to see what we do, and day in and day out, you've got to understand how we prep. You got to understand our process, and it didn't work out. It didn't work out because, they were wanting to rush. They were wanting to get through, and they didn't really want to do what we did. And I'm asking, how are you going to explain to people what we do if you don't understand fully what we do, And then it just dawned on me, I can't expect salespeople to understand art, right? Like it's like trying to, I don't know how to use or how to say it, but it's asking somebody to do something they're not familiar with and for them to excel in it.
The way that we did it, and it worked well. actually. So try this idea, because you're going to have to figure that out.
Sure.
You have to decide, either you have a supervisor that takes over the installs and you trust that person, or the salesman that's going to take over the sales so you can supervise the projects. You can't do both. Eventually you have to decide which way you're going to take your company.
Delegation.
Right? 100%, you got to decide which one. The good thing about the salesman is he doesn't have to know everything. He has to know the basics. He has to show up on job sites every time he has time to. Yes.
Sure.
He has to know as much as possible. But here's the thing. The one advantage we had back then was we would go, this project's perfect for Jared. It's one of the guys. This project's perfect for him. Jared's going to come out here and do the work. So we have these artists. Rick does this stuff. Jared does this stuff. Brian does this stuff, kind of thing. And we were able to say, look, when Rick comes out, he's going to have this whole conversation all over again. I'm just the salesman to initiate this and give you the price and tell you what it's going to take to do it. They're the ones that are going to come out here and spend time with you and talk through all the details and make sure you understand what you're going to do.
Of course.
And so no matter what you talk with that salesman today, right now, here, it could completely change. It's not going to change price unless there's something you add to it, but it's going to change. But the design may change, the color might change. They know more about what they're doing, the prep that they need to do, everything else. Here's the price for you, right? Sure. And it worked. It actually did work, because then they expected this artist, to come in and do the work, and it was pretty cool, because then there was a respect to us before we even got there. They already had this preemptive knowledge about us and things like that too. So you sell the company, you sell the people, you don't just sell the product.
That makes sense. And you're right. Delegation is very important on every level of what we're doing, because I'm one person and I can't do it all by myself. And we're Epoxy Guys as a team. We carry each other's back. We carry and lift each other up to make sure that we succeed together. And again, we're a small team. We're not this big company or big organization. We're just a small team from Dallas trying to make it.
So was I. I make it look bigger than it really is.
Yeah, everyone thinks we're this big company, and that we're all over the world and we're this and we're that. And, that's awesome. But, the truth of the matter is I'm just trying to make sure that my team stays fed. Yeah. And that they can succeed with what we're doing.
Now, there was one other part to this too. So then we had our discounts. And again, the salesman's just trying to get his commission, because that's all his lifestyle is based on, how many sales he can do, not necessarily what the price is for each one, because he doesn't want to hear no. So our salesman would kind of take a little bit more off. Sometimes it was a little too much. Sometimes he was just trying to make sure that there was work. It kind of bothered me. When I bought the company, because I ended up buying the company. When I first started, I was an employee. And I went from being one of the guys to manager to buying the company.
To the guy.
Yes. Within 3.5 years, I went from
That's awesome.
one of the guys to owning the company and turning it into an art form I never saw coming, of course. I mean, that's a whole, right, the rest is history.
Right.
Well, as soon as I bought the company, the first thing I did was fired the salesman.
Why?
Because he was cutting prices all the time. Okay. And he never understood from his point of view, if you don't say yes right now while I'm talking to you, there's a problem, and I gotta walk out of here with this sale.
I got you.
Okay, and it was a mentality. It was 10% off, or it was nickeling and diming. Let's do $5 a square foot here, but we're only going to do $1 a square foot here, or we're not going to do this much square footage because you only have this budget. Just ridiculous things like that. Okay, right. Well, luckily, I had a very amazing opportunity at that moment when I bought it, because I still had my same crews. And they were devoted, they were hardcore, and they were trained. And so I could bring a couple guys in to train for the next generation, but I had that 1 year where everything was going to be perfect for me, no matter what. So instead, I became the salesman. And I knew everything that I needed to know. It wasn't about, this guy's going to take care of it when he gets here. It was even more than that. No, I'm going to show you every detail you need to know right now. But here's the catch. I never gave him a discount. Not a single discount. I stopped all of the coupons. I stopped all of that. I still sent out the postcards, but there was never a discount on it.
Right.
And instead, I would walk into the house and go, all right, after talking to you about what you need and what you're looking for, this project right here is going to be $10,000. Not $5 square foot for this, not nickel and diming for this, not paying attention to $1 for this border and $1 for this medallion. And no, here's $10,000.
You know your
what
value.
Do you want to do?
You know your value. You know what you're worth. You know your time and effort that goes into it, your labor.
And they would always be like, well, what's that include? What do you want to do? Let's just have fun. We don't need to worry about that detail right now. We are going to have fun. And if you bring me something that's going to cost more than this, even you're going to understand that it's going to cost more than this. But let's see where we can go together.
I like that.
And it changed everything. And I had a 40% increase in profits in the first year, just by changing the way I talked to you about what we did.
And it's also confidence.
Yes.
You know, you have to be extremely confident in who you are, what your capability is, and you know, stepping outside that, you know, comfort zone, which is what we do on an everyday basis.
We have to, because it makes it more exciting. Like, you don't want to do just a basic, well, and also before I bought the company, we were only doing 1 foot tile patterns and like brick, and that was it. You know, I was the first one to go in there and go, well, why don't we do a 3 foot tile pattern and let's do a medallion in the middle for the same price, because it's going to take less time to do all this and it's going to look better. And oh, hey, by the way, why don't we charge for that medallion? They're not paying attention to the 1 foot tile pattern anymore. They don't care. Yeah. They're looking at this whole picture going, this is going to be amazing.
I think it actually makes it look bigger too. You know, the bigger tile pattern. We've done a few of them since taking your class. It enhances the space. We did one at our good friend. He's a return client, good buddy of ours, an RV park, and he had probably 2,500 square feet, and we did probably a 12-inch border with a tile pattern, and I think they were about either 6 feet, 4 feet. I want to say it was 4 feet, but it looked elegant. It looked clean. They were blown away. The colors, the enhancement of, you know, staining and leaving some variation, if you will. I mean, it really created a new environment for that specific place. And that's why I was really blown away with what you can do with engraved staining. And we're selling more and more of that. You know, epoxy guys are expanding their horizon.
Change it to engraving guys.
I had somebody tell me we need to change it to just decorative concrete guys. So, you know, and that's thanks to you. You know, we got to learn a new skill set, if you will, and we cherish those tidbits of knowledge, because at the end of the day, all it does is it is enhancing our opportunity to get in front of a client and give them options, right? So before, where we were just doing metallics, you know, I didn't even do flake floors. I jumped straight into metallics because I loved the artistry behind it. I loved how you could blend and manipulate pigments and create something one of a kind, right? Then we found out that flakes were easier. I'm like, well, why didn't we do that first? But you know, that's always been our thing. We dive head in.
I never did flake.
Yeah,
I didn't do flake for 15 years.
Yeah, it's scalable. It's something that could be easily trained.
Oh yeah, of course.
It's something that could be very lucrative. You know, if you're.
I disagree with that.
If you're looking for steady work,
it is steady, but I don't think it's lucrative. I think design is lucrative.
Design is very lucrative.
Very lucrative.
So when we're talking about engraving compared to flake, yeah, completely different ball game. And that was another plus, you know, but it took traveling to Ohio to go learn from you and the whole Decocrete team a new tool to add to our tool belt.
Well, but the reason why I wanted to bring that up and make sure that and point all of this out in a positive way is
you guys need to go to his class.
Well, first of all, yeah. But second of all, but because you could have easily in that moment in time when we were talking on the phone, you could have been like, all I care about is saving money, not finding new ways to make money. You could have easily been like, sorry, man, this isn't for me. Have a good day. Click. And instead you listened and you were like, I don't know what you're talking about. Let me look into this. And you took a chance.
Absolutely.
How many companies out there think that way? I mean, I don't. I went into this world And I walked away from the flake. I mean, I slowly got into metallic, but that's a long journey for me to leave design to start going into epoxies and stuff like that.
Coatings and
was
resinous flooring.
a difficult thing for me to do in the first place. I had a blast doing it, yes. Made a ton of mistakes because I, again, didn't have very many people to ask support for back then. I didn't have someone like me for supporting me. On top of that, too, I turned it into, well, then let's do a design on the floor and then metallic over top of it. I couldn't get away from the design part of it no matter what I wanted to do, because to me, a solid color floor, a dye and seal floor, and a one color acid stain floor, are boring.
Yeah.
I had to find a way to bring something else
Enhance
to it to blow your mind and go, no, design. That's because I can't get that out of my head. At least you're at a point right now where you're like, no, I'm from the other side. I was already doing the basics. Now I have these extra ways to go, and you think big picture on everything. I still was very narrow-minded through all of this, to be honest with you. Loved metallics, but I hated flake.
Can I give you 2 answers to why?
Sure.
So the first answer is, again, we were in survival mode. I was in survival mode for about a year going into this because I invested into myself. I took a chance, an opportunity to just pour into myself so that way I can create for my family, right? So number one was, I have no other option. This has to work. Regardless, this is going to work, right? And that mentality, it changes your perspective on everything, regardless of, yes, we're known for epoxy, but I have to be open-minded to all applications of what we do, especially when they're as lucrative as engraving, right? So that was first. But second is, I had a couple mentors, as a kid and as a young adult, and they told me to be a sponge. They said, you need to be a sponge. You need to get around people that have lived the life, that have the knowledge, and just soak in everything you can from them, right? So if I'm closed-minded to any opportunity, then I'm closing doors on myself. And I'm very open-minded when it comes to building and growing and helping, and we've talked about that before, where you're like, hey, I don't know why you do that. Well, the truth is that's just me. I want to see the next person win, regardless. I
do too, just not in my territory.
I hear that. I respect that. I really do. And I wish I was more like that, because I've also been told that we're too nice, so.
But at the same point, there's that argument both ways. Like, as much as I was arrogant and egotistical that I'm the only engraver in the world, if I would have let it out, if I would have trained more people, I probably could have even made more money doing it, because it's not like I would have become irrelevant.
Sure.
I would have been the master that everybody learned from in the town.
You are, by the way. But it's not only about money for me. I mean,
well,
yes,
no, me neither.
Yes, it is important.
It was control for me.
No, not for me. For me, it was survival.
Yeah.
True as I can tell you today, it was about survival. It was about making sure that my 4 kids at home have a roof over their head, that have food, that have clothes on their backs. Losing due to COVID, it put me in a different mind state. Like, hustle, go get it regardless. So that's why I think, I was the employee, just like you said you were. I was the employee. I remember I was actually here in Nashville working for Top Golf. I was an executive chef. A national events chef, and worked through culinary school for like 6 years. Came over to here to open this store back when they opened.
Really?
The Top Golf here.
Oh, that's awesome.
And that year I got 7-cent raise.
Wow. Big raise.
7-cent raise. And I was like, what am I doing?
Saving some money there, aren't you?
What am I doing?
Putting away for retirement.
Yeah, trying to. So I know how it feels to be that guy. I know how it feels to be shunned and not listened to, and not, given that opportunity. So, I mean, even the other night, I was telling you, I had a buddy call me, and he's asking for assistance on how he installs, a certain product on a countertop that he spoke with suppliers, and nobody gave him a direct answer. And it's like 9:00 on Thursday, and he's like, dude, I need help. I'm like, give me a call, because helping him it doesn't help me right away, but it does help this industry. And I'm in this industry, so I want to see it. I want to see it win, man.
Yeah.
I know.
Sure.
I know you.
Right.
Rick,
Whatever.
It's the truth. It's the truth.
I know it is, and I got nothing. It's not like I can argue with you.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into a debate with you because you are right.
Yeah.
I can't help that I'm an egotistical maniac, and it's all about me.
Yeah.
That's the difference between the two of us. It's not all about you.
I think
it's
you
about
beat
the
yourself
industry.
up.
It's about the group. It's about the team. It's about you want this industry to shine, and the more it shines, the better you look too.
Absolutely.
I get that, but to me, no, it's all about my ego.
Well, I mean, that's a big shadow to live behind. You've got to you've done a lot of good things for this industry. And
Okay, that's a different conversation. We're not talking about local territory.
Yeah.
It's me or die.
Yeah. Okay.
There's no ride or die. It is with me or against me. There is no in between. There's no gray area with me.
So don't move to Nashville.
Don't move to Nashville. I mean, it's happened to me. I had a friend of mine that wanted to come here to teach a class on concrete countertops. And he called me up and was like, hey, I'm going to be coming in. I was thinking about coming to town to do this class. And I said, no. And he goes, what do you mean? I was like, I'm not going to help you. And he's like, what do you mean? I said, I don't want you coming to my town teaching people to do anything. Anything. Even if I don't do it, I don't care. It's my industry. It's my town. It's my way. You come here and you tell people you're coming to do a countertop. I will not help you. I will not advertise it. I will. And so he went an hour out of town to do it, to make me happy. Came and stayed at my house. Got to,
it's that level of respect.
I was very positive with him. Took him out. We had a great time together. We're great friends still to this day because of it. But yes, he had to go out of town to do his class because I was like, F you.
See, I can respect that because, it hits home for me on so many different levels as to why I shouldn't be as available. But Chris, as we said earlier, Chris won't let me be that other person, and so it's a struggle. I do find myself, thinking of stepping back and not being so available or not being available 24/7, if you will.
Well, and to your point too, let's look at this the other way. I did that for years, and I didn't care. I did not lose sleep over my employees trying to go work against me. In fact, on top of that too, the original owner of Concrete Mystique had us sign a no compete, right? Well, Tennessee has a right to work, so no competes don't work. I don't care who you are. And he was adamant with me and I tried to do it to one of my employees that went off on his own, and I was going to. And I let it go because I knew it was going to be a big struggle, and I didn't really want to waste the money, let alone them,
Yeah.
And so instead, I changed the writing, and I wrote a new contract, and I put a copyright together to make you understand that if you're my employee and while you work with me, every design, every image is copyrighted by Concrete Mystique. And if you go and off and you do your own thing, and I catch you using one of my images or a design that's exactly like my image, then I can sue you for copyright infringement. I can't stop you from going and doing your own thing.
Absolutely. And that's just being on top of your business. That's very smart, and
because my designs are one of a kind. So of all things that we're talking about, it's one thing to show someone how to do a flake floor.
Sure.
Okay, I get it. Help them with a flake floor. No big deal. Everybody's doing it. Metallic floors, sometimes there's some things that I would to the same point, actually, my buddy Ryan and we controlled the metallic market in Nashville for years. Just the two of us. So much control over the metallic market in this town that I wouldn't even let my employees come to the job sites. Just the two of us.
On install days or
no matter, nothing. Wow. We did it just the two of us. Just two people were always doing it. One mixing, one installing, switching places between each job. You sold one job, so I would come help you as labor. I'd sell one job, you'd come help me as labor. And we kept it private. We didn't let anybody know about it.
Yeah, Dallas
until
he
started to become a install. But then no, this was before it was popular.
Yeah.
So then he decided to become a distributor. And that's when the flood doors opened in Nashville and everybody could do it now. And I wasn't just the only guy, and it irritated them. so angry.
You got to let it go, Rick.
I don't let these things go.
You're the master of the engraving. We'll give you that one. No one can step to you on the engraving, brother. I'm coming, though.
Wish you the best of luck. What was I going to say, though? But to your point, though, what I did have to break down and go, well, okay, what's next? Where am I going with this? What am I doing with it? And once I was willing to start training people, first and foremost, how many of those people are going to come from Nashville to go see me out of town? Can I stop them from coming? I can stop them from coming in Nashville. But if I go to Cleveland, Ohio, because this happened.
Sure.
And all of a sudden in the audience is a guy from Nashville, do I escort him out of the building or do I teach him?
And the right answer would be to teach him.
Of course.
But what happened?
No, I did.
Okay.
But I gave him the stink eye.
It took everything out of you, huh?
But I had to take it one step further and go, I did. I was like, in front of 15 students, I was like, okay, hold on a second. I've never taught anybody from my hometown. So this is going to take me a second. So we talked about it. We goofed off about it. I made jokes about it the whole time. And when the class was over, I gave him my number. We went and had lunch the next week. We got to know each other, and I've helped him ever since.
That's awesome.
I didn't go the way you assume I was going to, it took everything for me to break down and go, it's okay. It's going to be okay. It's just a company. It's not it's going to be okay. Yeah. And my business partner, that's how we met too. He called me up and was like, hey, could you teach my guys? And I was like, you can go fuck yourself. And he's like, what? I was like, what the hell? And I was like, okay, I'm sorry. Let me start again. I'm thinking about maybe opening up a store. I'm thinking about maybe doing distribution. And if I'm going to do these things, I have got to stop this attitude. I've got to stop this mentality. I've got to let it go and understand that the only way for me to expand is to stop being a bully.
A gatekeeper.
And so then I was like, look, reach out to me in February when there's nothing going on and we're both slow, and I'll think about it. And he did. We went to lunch. And what I realized during lunch was not only was I not having anything to worry about whatsoever, but two, that they were so screwed up with they went to a franchise. They were dumb enough to go take a 2-week course with a franchise and spend thousands and thousands of dollars, like $50,000 starting out, to invest into this organization that gives you no help whatsoever. And I was like, dude, you're spending 3 times the amount on material that I could even sell it to you for. So I said, you know what, time out. How about I just sell you the product? Let's just start there. I'm just going to sell you the product because you're still not doing my work yet. At this point, let's just start here. I'm going to save you a fortune in material alone because I'm a distributor. So I can do it myself locally. And you don't need to order it from Florida and all this kind of stuff. And then...
Makes sense.
But then he called me and said, okay, my guy screwed up this project. Can you go fix it? My guy screwed up this project. Can you go fix it? So then I'm not only selling them material, but I'm also doubling my money on the projects because I'm going in for whatever I want to charge and I'm fixing their mistakes. And I got to a point where I was like, dude, you guys are making a lot of mistakes. I think I can fix this for you. And I liked the guy. We were getting along great.
Sure.
So I was like, you know what? I trust you. I can break down even the wall even more. I can knock another chunk out of the wall and go, I think that we can work together. How about you take sales, I'll take operations, but there's one catch. We got to fire everybody and start from scratch because your guys suck and they're terrible. And it wasn't anything else. And so we did. And that was the first time that I was willing to let go of my ego and let go of my attitude and go, it's going to be okay. And it was fine.
Let me ask you a question. So if you didn't let go, right, mm-hmm. and you continue to harbor these techniques, if you will,
hide in a little corner and just be my little artist self. Yes.
Yeah, we would not have been given the opportunity to even build a friendship because everything would have been closed off. And see, that's where I think that Epoxy Guys thrives I don't have many enemies in this industry. I don't have many friends in this industry, but I do have people that we respect, just out of the talent that they've, displayed or shown through social media or whatever, right? So closing doors and not showing people, and I get it. I get that that's a tactic that does work. It 100% works, but opening up and having nothing to hide as well, I mean, that's a display of like, if you want it, bro, come take it, right? I mean, who can do me better than me? Who can do you better than you?
But that's not the point, because someone can. Like, even okay, here's another way to look at it. I'm an artist. Mm-hmm. Okay. Master's degree. I'm one of those people that doesn't really like working for someone else.
I hear that.
Okay. That's obvious. So I go into any situation and I figure out how I can do it for myself. How many other people like me are sitting there looking for something to do?
Oh, a lot.
Right? You're going to go through this. You're 4 years in. I'm 20 years in. You're going to find people that are going to come in and be like, oh, I could do this without you, and go do it.
Yeah.
And it's going to irritate the crap out of you.
Definitely.
But you can't stop it. That's the catch to us all, is you can't stop it. All you can do is do the best job you can and make sure that you keep your positive reputation that you have, because as long as you have that, you never have to worry about anything. They're going to go screw up their own thing. They're going to most of them, 9 times out of 10, they will not succeed. And trust me, they all did it, and not a single one of them ever succeeded. And I would get calls from clients going, well, so-and-so did this project and they used to work for you. Okay, well, why the fuck are you calling me? Well, because they screwed it up. Again, why are you calling me?
It's your contract with them.
Right. And they're like, well, because we want you to come take and I go look at it and I'll be like, this is what they did leaving me? And so I didn't have to worry about it. And those slowly through the years, seeing that over and over made me feel, one, better about having that attitude at first, but 2, I started to loosen up a little bit more over time, because I started to go, well, what am I worried about? Because every scenario I won. I never lost. So why am I so worried about control when I never lost once? I always succeeded. I never left. I'm still here to this day. I never had to worry about it, but that's not how it works for my brain.
No, I get that. I truly understand. I just feel like that having that mentality, it puts me, not anyone else. I can't speak for anyone else. I'm speaking for myself. It puts me in a darker place, because I am very high spirit. I like good energy. I like to be around people that are having fun, that are enjoying things, right? And I'm not saying that we don't go through hard times, or we don't go through our own struggles, but like keeping that kind of positive energy and positive light, like, just brings everyone up around you.
All right. Well, so let me ask you this then.
Talk to me.
Is that why you came up with the colorful logo for your company?
Believe it or not, no. So
because it works to what you just said. Your marketing, your logo, is inviting. It's inviting. It doesn't shun you. It doesn't make you go, what's that? It makes you go, I want to know more.
Sure. I'll be completely honest with you, and I've only told a few people this, so now the world's going to get to know this, or the decorative concrete industry anyways.
The few followers that I have. So
I have 2 kids I've got four boys, but my 2 youngest are 5 and 3. 5 and 4 now. They watch Sesame Street, and one day I seen this, and it's, believe it or not, I'm just being completely transparent with you. Now, I didn't take anything from Sesame Street, but hear me out. So I see
Big Bird. You better not be listening.
I see Big Bird painting, right? He's painting red. I see Cookie Monster, whatever the other ones are, and they're painting different colors. And I'm like, man, I could see a word in that, it's drawing me in, right? So that idea has always been floating around in my head. I couldn't escape it. And when we were coming up with the logo for Epoxy Guys, we mix metallic pigments. We manipulate colors. We create art. We inspire, and art's very colorful in my eyes, right? You know, everything we look at.
Well, some of ours is.
In my eyes, not yours. Sorry, that was perfect. So it fit, you know, and there could be a deeper meaning behind it. Like, you know, a lot of people see red and they see a certain thing. They're attracted to it. They see blue and it's like a level of professionalism. They see green and it's like attraction, right? So, you know, that I'm not going to say that I did that intentionally, but it worked, right? It was plain, simple, and straight to the point, and the colors, they grab you.
It's a rainbow of fruit flavors.
Yeah, we've been asked if we're a queer-based company.
I
can't say.
I
that.
laugh about it all the time. Every time I saw it, when I first saw it too, and you know I wasn't going to bring it up. You did.
But you know, it's the truth.
He also doesn't know that they are 3D. If you wear 3D glasses, my glasses, that it's actually a 3D logo too.
I didn't know that until today.
I that was the first thing I saw when I saw the design, because that's all I see. I only see things in 3D. I can't see things in color, so I only see what happens with 3D glasses half the time.
But when it comes down to, you know, just to touch back on the design, it was very minimal in my eyes. I wanted to keep it very simple, and doing that with the colors, it just showed what we did.
It's funny you say it that way, because it goes back to our conversation about design. Less is more powerful. It doesn't take much.
Yeah.
And that's what drives me crazy, because joke to the story is we're in Cincinnati at this training class that he came to take, and everywhere we went, to the art museum where I almost got arrested.
I've never been to an art museum where I get kicked out of it. Twice
now with me.
Yeah. Goodness. Yeah, those are fun times, by the way. So if you guys ever have the opportunity to go to an art museum with the infamous Rick Libdell, trust me, it is worth it. It is worth every minute of it. He will be yelled at. He'll be prompted to exit the building within like 15 minutes.
There's a possibility of an email to the organization bad-mouthing me and saying that I was rude and obnoxious, and I was not.
You were not. No,
that is all fake news. I did not do anything wrong.
You got a little close to the painting, but
I only got close to one. It was the students that screwed the rest of it up. But everywhere we went, you got interrupted and I didn't. And it drove me crazy, because I was like, one time I was wearing my shirt too, and I'm like, well, what's wrong with my design? Why are you not interrupting me? But it does make that big of a presence, and your marketing has done, you know, sometimes I wonder if it's just the logo that's done half of your marketing for you in the first place. But then the second thing to it too is back to what we've been talking about this whole show, is your attitude. When someone comes up to you, you don't go, whatever, dude, thanks, buzz off.
It's respect.
You automatically are like, hey, man, smiles. Your whole team. It's not just you. The whole team smiles every time they get interrupted. I'm like, what do you want? You know, I get all closed up, and I'm like, why are you bothering me? But you are right away the nicest guy in the world going, what can I do for you? Oh, I don't live in this town, but I bet I know someone that can help you. Every single time. I watched it personally. It drove me crazy, because I was getting annoyed going, why are we bothered all the time? It was crazy to watch.
Probably like 5 or 6 times within the span of, 10, 15 minutes. We were playing pool. Where were we playing
dude,
pool at?
I mean, well, the art museum, it was 2 or 3 times at the art museum. And that was before we even knew each other. That was the first day. We hadn't even gone to the class yet. You had no idea what you were walking into.
Yes, that's
and
right.
I was like, no, you guys drove all the way up here. Let's go. I'm going to this museum. You got to come with me.
That's right.
I showed you a whole nother world right away, and how to get in trouble at an art museum all at one time.
Well, you also showed us how to look at things as well, and see. That's what I'm talking about being a sponge. The way that you break things down on a level to where it can be received and maybe explained a little bit better. it really did benefit in a major way for your class. You know, just being able to see how you're looking at things like the quadrants. You know, breaking those down into your install.
Are you trying to say that math is scary?
Hey, you know what? I was always good at math in high school, so I mean, I feel pretty confident, but it can be.
No, it cannot.
It can be.
It is easy.
It's easy if you understand. It's complicated if you're, you know.
You got to start somewhere.
But to go back on that real quick, so World of Concrete was where we first met, right? It was our first time at World of Concrete. Didn't even know about an event like that. And, you know, here we are, two big guys and a little guy, and wearing rainbow colors, you know, proudly. And everyone's looking at us like, you know, we're some trio. And, you know, but it was an amazing experience because we've gotten so much recognition through social media and our platform for our brand that, you know, they recognized it. You know, they were stopping us and telling us they knew who we were. And I was like, there's no way you know who I am. I have no idea where I'm at right now. There's no way you know us. And they're like, no, we've seen your work. We've seen your installations on social media. And for my team to be able to experience that, it was probably one of the highlights of Epoxy Guys for me.
I'm going to give you a little secret here. I'm going to World of Concrete for 14 years. I've had 2 employees ever come once for a split second to help me with a project I was doing. I did it all myself. I never invited them. I kept it to myself.
You want to know why I invite them?
Oh, I know. It makes perfect sense as to why you invite them, because they need to know what they can do with their lives. It's for them across the board. It's not just for this company right now. It is for whatever you want to do in the future.
Absolutely.
You need to see that people will respect you and people will notice you, and you can take that information and do what you want with it. Am I correct?
Giving them the opportunity to see firsthand that this is a lot bigger than just a small business, that this is a lot bigger than just myself, him, or, you know, anyone on our team, that you can do anything. And with, you know, the sacrifice of putting in long hours, you know, putting in the work, grinding all day and night, you know, to see this blossom, like, yeah, you can have anything you want. Yeah. So yes, you're absolutely right. I take them everywhere with me because I want them to experience what it means to be an epoxy guy.
I kept it all to myself.
Well, I mean, I respect it. I do.
I'm not saying that in a good way.
No.
I'm not saying that in a good way. I also couldn't afford it. But, you know, back then it was complicated, and they were doing work for me back then while I was gone and stuff like that. Anyway, I always kept the machine rolling.
Don't let Instagram fool you. Hey, you know, it's tough. It's tough out here. But, you know, at the end of the day, I feel like it's imperative that I do show them what they do and what kind of industry they're in.
And I agree. Looking back on it, I wish I would have done that. I wish there's multiple times it would have helped me. I mean, I sat there and did, to the same point too, I did, back then we had artistry in concrete, and it was a competition. So the first year I went and I did this 10-foot koi with my buddy Ryan, and I brought my investor in, who's an artist, with me too, and we did it as a team. The next year, we also did another project as a team. So the first year was under my name, the second year was under Ryan's name, and we all showed up together and we did it again as a team. The third year, they did it against me. And I did it all by myself. And I did a full-out mural. I was exhausted. It was insane for me to do all this work by myself. And they were doing something no one's ever seen before, too. It was awesome. It was all awesome. And we were competing against each other, which was complicated. It was very complicated.
Sure. Uneasy, I'm sure.
But I had this plan of what I was going to do in the time period I had there to show off. I can't tell you how many people wanted to talk to me. And I couldn't. I didn't have time. I lost an entire year of networking. Well, in the evening I did, because you know how I am about the evening. You've experienced that this year a little tiny bit.
That was awesome. By the way.
During the day, like, and the reason why I say that is my buddy Jeremy, who's a very good friend of mine still to this day, different Jeremy, came over and sat down and wanted to get to know me, and I was like, I don't have time. I got all this paint to do. I'm painting this full out mural, this dolphin and this all this kind of stuff is going on. No one did. No one ever did. They were frightened of me. I had this intimidation factor from that point for a while because I didn't invite you. I didn't smile when you introduced yourself to me.
Sure.
Most people wouldn't introduce themselves to me because they heard through the grapevine that I was intimidating, and they didn't understand what I was doing.
Rick's a big teddy bear, y'all. Rick's awesome.
Totally. But it was that moment to where I was like, why do you keep sitting here? I sat there for hours trying to get to know me. And once I opened up, once I started to get to know him, we've been friends ever since, of course. And I have to keep that in the back of my head all the time. I do. Still to this day, I keep reminding myself of that time when it finally sunk in and I had to stop having that attitude. And I had to stop thinking that way, that it's all about me. It's not all about me. It is all about the industry. And from that point on, you've seen the rest of the story where my name has gone bigger because of it. I've done ASCs. All of this stuff happened at that moment. The whole world happened at that moment for me. And everything I did from there and all the networking I did from there and how I handled that networking, I changed the way I even networked because of it, to build my reputation in a positive way, because I was tired of hearing that I was intimidating. I'm like, all you got to do is say hi. It's not that hard, but it is.
Yeah.
Because I kept reminding myself, no, actually, you wouldn't even say hi to them. You would just shake their hand and walk away. I was a dick. 100%. I was for a couple years before it sunk in.
Yourself up, but
no.
I can understand that, believe it or not, without the rainbow colors and without the Epoxy Guys gear, we are very intimidating looking, right? When they see us, they're like, oh man, stay clear of that guy. But
no,
when I open my mouth and I start talking and I let them know, like, hey, you're good, man. We're good. It throws people off when I call them or when they call me for a quote and I'm talking to them on the phone, and then I show up to their house. I used to get a kick out of it because, I don't know what they were expecting, but when they seen me, it was like, are you Christopher? Are you Chris? So
Christopher.
The perception is a big role, and I've preached that to or I've tried to instill that to my team. How we show up, how we show up.
That part I was good at. Yes, 100%. When it came to the customer, we were positive, happy, there for you, working with you.
You never know who's your next customer.
Well, I do, because I know you're not my next customer.
You don't know that.
I do know that.
You have no idea. I could call you for a job.
No.
Why?
Because back then I didn't have time for it.
Okay.
I didn't. I was so busy with Nashville alone and some of the travel around Tennessee.
You wouldn't leave.
It's not that I wouldn't. It was fitted into my schedule with crews and everything else, because to your same point, you need me. You don't need my crew, And that was the great thing about it too. I loved doing that. I wanted to do more of that. Yes, I wanted to collaborate with other people in the industry. I just didn't understand how to communicate to you at that point. And I had to rearrange the way I thought, because to my point, what happens in Nashville is separate from what happens in the rest of the world. And once my brain finally figured that out, then I changed. I didn't change in Nashville. I never changed it still to this day. I still haven't changed in Nashville. But in the rest of the world, yes, I've always become the nicest guy in the world. I want to get to know you. I'm very inviting. I'm extremely inviting. But I had to get over that reality and that thought process to realize the separation between the two, because I have nothing to hide in the world. It doesn't matter if you in Texas wants to do what I'm doing. That doesn't bother me at all. It is not my territory. I'm not looking for work in Dallas, Texas. It does not bother me in any way, shape, or form at all. I will show you the world. I just won't show it to you if you move to Nashville.
Well, we'll steer clear of Nashville, trust me, because we're going to continue.
Everybody better pay attention. I'm kidding.
I'm going to continue utilizing, what we've learned and what we've experienced on our own. For instance, the Star, right? Texas, man. I mean, they love the Star. What did you tell me the first time I told you we were going to do our first engraving?
The hardest thing you could possibly do.
We dive head in.
Hardest thing you could possibly do.
And now we've got the Star down to a math.
I love it.
So,
well, I did the same thing with the Compass Rose. Like I can do it blindfolded now. It's like no big deal at all. Fleur-de-lis, no big deal at all. It was all about, that first time. Once you get over that first initial, same thing with all the stuff I teach you. When you first learn it, it's intimidating.
Yeah.
But just a little bit of practice, and all of a sudden it's like, this is not that hard at all.
Well, we're going to continue to press the boundaries of what we can do at the Epoxy Guys. And I think that it was, important. I've been looking forward to doing this podcast with you for quite some time. I would say probably when you first started doing it.
Yes, because you sat in the background watching me do it.
Yes, exactly. Yes. So that was in Michigan.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Where I did get kicked out of a art museum officially.
So, it was something that we get to learn and experience. Even this opportunity, with Decocrete and with yourself, I look at this as a learning opportunity. Even though we understand enough, there's never a day to where you could not take something else. And
absolutely,
grasp.
without a question. And on top of that too, and I tell this to all my students, to always come to this show and always come help me, because what I teach you in the class, you're not going to retain all of it. You need to practice it again, and not just practice it at home, but when you see the little ticks and techniques and tricks and all the little things that I have that you have no idea exist because you don't ask the right question or there's no reason for me to show it to you in that moment.
Sure.
You never know what you're going to get out of coming to help me do another one. And I've had a few students that have done that because they do need that repeat with me. We got Jason we were talking about before that's come to my class 3 times, and he's planning to come to the 4th one.
Michigan, what's up, Michigan?
And it's important.
That's our buddy.
Yeah, he's awesome. But he realized it's so overwhelming to learn, and not in a bad way. We're not saying that it's like scary and you're never going to learn it. There's just more information to retain than you realize with any training class.
I was about to say that's throughout any form of application.
If you go to a training class and you learn everything in the first couple hours and you're bored the rest of the time, that was a bad training class.
Yeah.
You should be so overwhelmed and taking notes and going, I got to do this again. I got to do this again.
Yeah, it's something that doesn't. You're not going to pick everything up in one training class. I mean, even for instance, back to the star. So that star, believe it or not, it was not on concrete. It was on brick that we had to, prep and reinforce and structure enough to where we could engrave. So, I'm not going to name products, but we utilized, some cementous products that we were able to engrave into. So, I mean, we went from a red brick entryway to a what was it? Cola and walnut and black
acid stain. Yes.
With a border, a medallion of a star. I mean, a completely night and day transformation. So, taking bits of gold from you on engraving, taking other bits of knowledge that we have from, other people that we respect in this industry and combining and making it our own. That's what it's all about to me anyways. I think it's important that you take what you can and you learn every day. You pick up the nitbit of information and techniques that you see and utilize them, put them into practice.
Well, I don't want to cut this short because it's only been over an hour.
Only.
In case you didn't notice. But we have some honky-tonkin' to go do.
Right on, brother. Well, we're ready, man. I appreciate you for inviting us out to the house again and for having Epoxy Guys on your podcast. I look forward to what the future holds for this industry and for our small little company out of Dallas.
Well, I want to thank you for coming, man. It's been a great time talking to you. I'm glad we finally got to do this.
Absolutely, brother.
It's been a great time. And maybe, just maybe, we'll add a couple excerpts of our honky-tonking tonight, because that's what we're doing as soon as we leave here. We have dinner arrangements, and then we have all the fun in the world in downtown Nashville on Lower Broad. Woo. You are missing out. Thanks for listening, everybody. Have a great day.